The British invasion to the River Plate found its origins in the strong competition that existed between the Spanish Empire and the United Kingdom of the Great Britain. The main conflict points were commercial issues and the increasing presence of British colonies in the American continent. That was the main reason for Spain to intervene directly into the American Independence War, supporting the rebels. With this, Spain regained control of Florida, which they had lost in the 7 Years' War. The French Revolution and the execution of Louis XVI ended the hostility between both nations. But the French victories made the Spaniards to rethink their position and sign the San Ildefonso Treaty in 1796. This put Spain once more against Great Britain, which had always been its biggest threat for her commerce with her American colonies. On the other hand, the British had lost a great amount of its territories in America, and they felt threatened by the French expansion, especially against her commercial routes with India. This territory was under the control of the West India Company, a private company that had its own army and that, in the height of its power, had controlled half of the commercial traffic of the world. To ensure its supremacy, it became imperative for Great Britain to control the maritime routes that connected her to India. Capetown, a Batavia Republic's colony, a vassal state of France, was a crucial strategic point to control access to the Indian Ocean. On August 28, 1805, a fleet under the command of Sir David Byrd departed from Cork. Destined to Cape Town, it carried British navies and West India Company troops. Nobody could imagine that a part of that fleet, more than a year later, would have enormous consequences to the territories of the River Plate and its future history. After a stop at Salvador de Bahia, the British fleet left for Cape Town, where they arrived on January 4, 1806. The fleet had 75 ships and carried 6,000 troops, 3 artillery companies and 2 mounted. On the image, we can see the HMS Diadem, a ship of the line with 64 cannons from where Byrd commanded the operation. After the Battle of Blouberg, the commander of the colony, Lieutenant General John William Jansen, surrendered to the British on January 10. The Commodore Home Popham, commander of the fleet, had knowledge of the independence plan for the South American continent that the Venezuelan revolutionary Francisco de Miranda had presented in his visit to London. The recent defeat of the Franco-Spanish fleet in the Battle of Trafalgar made Popham to see the perfect opportunity to attack the Spanish colonies, which the British had always seen as potential markets. To carry on his plan, Popham needed the collaboration of Byrd, who commanded the infantry. He refuses many times, but eventually accepted in April, after the promise of an easy victory and great booty. For the campaign, a small expeditionary force was assembled. Commanded by the Commodore himself and Lieutenant General William Carr Beresford, the fleet had 3 ships of the line, a frigate, a gunship, and 5 transports carrying 950 infantry troops. Before the departure of the fleet, the HMS Leda was sent to the River Plate with the mission to gather information and intelligence of the area. 10 days later, on April 14, the fleet left Cape Town. On April 21st, a storm separated the transport ocean, which was presumed lost. This event was a disaster for the operation. The ship carried more than 200 men, almost a fourth of the available infantry. The unexpected loss forced the fleet to stop at the island of Saint Helene, where they arrived on April 30. The governor of the island accepted to reinforce Popham with 150 infantry, 100 artillerymen, and 2 cannons. Besides, 3 armed merchant ships joined the fleet with the hope of being the first one to introduce their merchandise in the newly conquered territories. Meanwhile, the HMS Leda arrived to the vicinity of the fortress of Santa Teresa on May 20th of 1806. This was the first warning sign for the Viceroy Sobremonte, who had minimized the risk of invasion after learning that Byrd's fleet was destined for Cape Town. Popham, who hadn't received any information from the Leda, decided to embark into the HMS Narcissus to explore the River Plate by himself and acquire first-hand information before continuing with his progress. On June 7th, the Narcissus spotted land after arriving at the Lobos Island and advanced to Montevideo to recon the city's defenses. The following day, the British captured the Portuguese merchant Panquegue, where a Scottish sailor named William Russell was traveling. Russell had lived in the Viceroyalty for 24 years and he became an important source of information despite his alcoholism. Among the things that Popham learned was that Sobremonte had reinforced the defenses of Montevideo. This left Buenos Aires in a vulnerable position just when a cargo of Peruvian silver had arrived. On June 13, the fleet reunited at the mouth of the River Plate. The reappearance of the transport ocean was another lucky strike for Popham, who started immediately to plan the invasion of Buenos Aires.